Mel, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Welcome to a wonderful Saturday. I just did a recorded session with this guy named Charting Guy. I know it's a very generic name. We were talking about the crypto bull market, how long it's going to last. Neither of us think that has topped. And we kind of have a little bit of difference in opinion in terms of where the top would be and when that would be. So we spent some time. We came up with like a two-part video. I'm going to release them. Maybe one like later today, maybe another one later on tomorrow. It's going to be fun. Hi, Christian. Welcome. I hope you guys can hear me okay. If you have any technical difficulties hearing me or seeing the screen, please do let me know. But welcome, Low Gains. Thank you so much for joining. I just gonna do my usual here. I don't have too many pending chart requests. I think I've been trying to knock them up throughout the week, so I don't, I'll try to do what I can. If you guys have requests, feel free to throw my way. I do have a chart request for AMD, so I'm going to get to that here in a second. But overall, I just want to go through the market here in terms of what I'm seeing. This is S&P 500, the daily chart here. Again, square here. Basically, you can see that it's been just one flush after another, and they just keep on wanting to kind of flush it, who knows what they're trying to do, but I think this is still a higher high here. These are still like higher low compared to that, January 13th low right there. So you got it, Doge, and remind me if I don't get around to it, but I'm going to take a look at Doge and WIF. We'll take a look at those. The thing about it is just been still respecting this scan arc here very, very beautifully, right? I mean, it came back in, broke back through, came back in, broke back through. Are we going to have a Monday where we're going to have another downtrend? Is it going to hit the bottom of the arc here? Is it going to hit the top of the arc here? I don't know. I mean, last Friday, it does seem like there was a pretty decent bearish engulfing candle here, so it favors for further bearish continuation. Monday's probably going to be a red day. If at the very least, it's going to be red to begin with. And then we'll see how far it goes. I mean, they just want to keep playing this game forever. That's fine. There's some pretty important economic data, I think, coming out next week. So that could be a change of tide, perhaps for the better, perhaps for the worse, right? I think it's probably going to be a bit better from what I'm seeing here. Just because they've been really trying to shake us out here for about the last couple of weeks now. So I will take a look at that as well. POWL. I'm going to add that to my list of requests here later on. So I gotta say, if you turn off the candle here, if you look at the Ichimoku, it's just really been just holding the Tenkin here almost perfectly. I do think that Monday is probably going to be breaking below it though. But yeah, I'm not that concerned. I mean, I still think that this is about the daily Ichimoku. If you look at the weekly, it's still holding the weekly conversion here. So there's still some relative strength here when it comes to the indexes here. You look at the QQQ, same thing is still holding the Tenkin here, although you do have all these wicks up here above, which just basically mean that you have some selling pressure here over the last couple of weeks. But overall, it's still holding a lot of these kinds of support. But our support band is still being held here by the QQQ, is still being held here by the SPY. So there's not really any major concern. I actually think that we might be getting set up here for potentially for the impulse going up, but we'll see, right? The TTWO and RMBS. Let's try to knock them out later on. So what you're going to see here is IWM is really trying to reclaim the bonus support band. IWM has been a little bit lagging in terms of what it's been doing, but if you actually look at the daily, let me turn on bonus support band here. If you actually look at the daily, it actually looks a little bit stronger than the SPY and the QQQ over the last couple of weeks, right? ARK Fund is also looking stronger actually compared to the rest of them. I still think that whatever shenanigans they're trying to do, I think it's just more or less like a rotation. I still think the IWM is going to do extremely well because if you look at the monthly chart here, it's still respecting the Tenkin here very well. It's still respecting blue line here very well, and it's still expanding. And if you're also looking at the fib levels here, I still think that the IWM is still holding the golden pocket here, still above the 0.678, still underneath the 0.76, really trying to break through here. So I think it's probably going to be okay. I do want to kind of bring it to your attention here too. I'm going to talk about NVIDIA here, probably to start, because I think it's very, very important to talk about NVIDIA to start. I do think that there is maybe a little bit more rotation, because I do think that at some point there's going to be a pretty bullish impulse here for IWM, and it's going to allow it to push through the golden pocket. It's going to make it create some all-time high. Whenever that happens, it can get parabolic, because it's just been suppressive for a very long time. Underneath the 0.76, it looks like it wants to break through, and it looks like it will, because there's a very much an uptrend over here, right? If anything, if you ignore this break, like false breakout over here, is a little bit of a ascending triangle. I think price wants to break the 0.76. It's been trying to do that for about like 7 months now. And when it does, I think it's going to be pretty powerful, kind of like how it did over here, kind of like how it did over here when it breaks to all-time high, and kind of like how it did over here, where it just kind of left a big gap over here that was never filled here on IWM. And we're waiting for that moment. Now, during this moment, you can have a stock like NVIDIA that could do absolutely nothing. I'm going to show you what I meant by that. During this moment, kind of like over here back in August 2020 to April 2021, NVIDIA did nothing, right? What is NVIDIA doing right now? Nothing. What is IWM doing right now? Well, IWM is making higher highs and higher lows on the way up. But during that period of time when NVIDIA did nothing from like August of 2020 to like April 2021, IWM just went beast mode, right? Like that. I'm not making this up. This is what I meant by rotation. At some point, I think rotation is going to happen. I just don't know when. And when that happens, I think it's going to shock a lot of people. I think a lot of people has been very, very bitter about the small caps, even though it's been making higher highs and higher lows since October 2023. I think it's going to be fine, guys. The other thing, too, I think is showing a lot of relative strength that nobody's really talking about. I made a video about ARKK, about Cathie Wood's fund, how I'm saying that it's making higher highs and higher lows. This is actually been looking, very, very bullish here. Reclaiming the 0.382 here, riding along with the Bollinger expansion here on the monthly. Everything just looked very, very bullish for ARK Fund, but nobody cares. I think a video got maybe like 200 views, which is extremely pathetic based on like what I usually get. So, which is good, because ARK Fund has a lot of really, really high risk stuff, and I own like half of the top 10. I think like the top 10 is like Tesla, Coin, Shopify. A couple other ones I also own too. I can't remember on top of my head. Oh, Palantir is on the top 10. So I can't really be that bearish on the market whenever it just looks like it wants to do a little bit of rotation. And if it does, I think it's okay. I don't think there's really anything particularly scary about it. Talking a little bit about the macro, the US dollar is, again, kind of holding this level here. You might say it might be forming a little bit of a bull flag here. I'm just saying this is still at the top of the range. I still think that it's probably going to get up, come back down, but who knows? We don't really need the US dollar necessarily to plummet for like Bitcoin or risk assets to go up. All it has to do is just kind of stay steady. You can have bull markets where you can have the US dollar being elevated for quite some time, and that's fine, because even it's fine, because even during this bull market here, it was up, and during the recovery of the great financial crisis, it was still up, right? So I'm not really that concerned about it. A lot of people are paying attention to it. I still think it's at the top of the range here. I still think that it's probably showing some weakness here, so I'm not really that concerned about it. You're talking about the yields. With yields, I'm going to have to do a regular here instead of log. You can see that the 2 years have been looking extremely weak. You can say this is a bull flag, but I can say that this has just been underneath resistance here. The Ichimoku Tenkan Kijun had a bearish cross over here. You also have a negative sloping 20-month moving average above of it now. So even if yield like make a little bit of move up there to, like, let's say the 4.4 range or something, like 4.5 range is going to get rejected. It's probably going to go down a lot lower. because this is a very much of a trend change from positive to negative here, from support here to resistance. I think financial conditions is going to get eased up, and when it does, it's going to happen maybe in a hurry. The 10 years got a little bit of a evening star look to it. Usually this whole thing right here is like a little bit of a bearish kind of look to it. So I think that is probably going to plummet now. The 10 years holding support pretty decent. 20 moving averages are pointing up. Jishimoku Tengen Kitchen is no longer expanded, it's contracted. So that could also be signaling a little bit of a trend change here, but it just bounced off of both, and right now it's just having a little bit of a maybe like a dead Cantonese bounce. I still think that it's probably going to take longer for a 10-year to go down, maybe to like 3.8, 3.9, and it's going to ease financial condition here as it does that. 2 years also going to come down. I think it's probably going to be like maybe 3.4, 3.3 or something right there. So if you overall look at U.S. liquidity here, it's still going up. There's no reason to think that the market's over. Chinese liquidity is going up, and Japan liquidity has actually had a little bit of a sideways here. I think they're just a little bit hesitant to try and print too much money because their currency is maybe a little bit more devalued compared to the US. So they've just been kind of going sideways. And maybe that's why we're having kind of, a little bit of a lag here, because the Japanese market tend to go well with, for whatever reason, like the Japanese market has actually been doing, it's been kind of like a leading indicator for like Bitcoin and risk assets, if you will. So we'll see how the Japanese market goes. It's just been doing absolutely nothing for like a whole year, which is absolutely insane. Going back to oil, if you worry about rates being higher for longer, you worry about inflation. Look at how nasty oil is, just having dead kidneys bounce after dead kidneys bounce after dead kidneys bounce. It's probably going to fall over here sometime in 2025. It's probably going to be in the 60s, maybe if not lower. So I'm not really worried about yields higher for longer. I think financial conditions going to ease. I think there's going to try and find an excuse to continue to print money. I think the U.S. money supply is going to reach all-time high pretty soon. So I'm not really that concerned about the market overall. The question is more you're trying to position yourself into somewhere that is the best position at, right? You're talking about large caps. You're talking about the semiconductor stocks have been running hard here for about 2 years now, and it's really been going for a correction here, sideways here. This is the SMH, which is the market-weighted semiconductor ETF. You can see how it's just been getting rejected here at the 2.618 here, and it's just been kind of hovering underneath the 2.272 here for almost like 8 or 9 months, and it's just stuck in a range right here at the ARK, right? I think the next move will be critical, and I think the next move, because the increase of U.S. liquidity, global liquidity that I'm expecting, is probably going to be up, and I think this probably going to hit maybe like around the 300 range over here once it decides to break that. Now the trend is very, very much exhausted, and that could be kind of a little bit like a final push up there. I don't know how long that's going to take, maybe like a year to kind of push up a lot higher, and then it could end the cycle maybe somewhere up here, maybe a little higher. I don't know. But I think that this impulsive bull trend for semiconductors probably hit this end, because usually if it hits the log fib here, 21272 or 21618, that's pretty far extended, and I think it probably just needs to cool here. Now, that doesn't mean that AMD is not going to do well, because they've been absolutely destroyed for out of proportion, and the representation of AMD on the overall SMH is actually quite small. So that doesn't mean that AMD is going to do poorly. But talking about the semiconductor stocks here, let me see. I'm going to change that back into log here. NVIDIA, again, got rejected at 2.272. I think it's just simply backtesting the ARK over here. I think it is showing signs for exhaustion because the Bollinger Band is no longer expanded, right? It's contracted, kind of like how late cycle would be. Kind of like how late cycle would be over here, right? You still have another leg up, kind of like how late cycle is over here. You still have another leg up, kind of like how late cycle I think we're at right now. I think it's probably going to keep going up, maybe another leg up, but we'll see. We will see. Yeah, Vasu, don't worry. We're gonna record this. I'm gonna share it. Yeah, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be there. You gotta do what you gotta do to take care of your stuff, man. But yeah, I think most likely it's gonna have another leg up, maybe even with some further consolidation here while you have the rotation happening, which is going to be insane because I've never seen NVIDIA going sideways and do nothing for like a whole year, like 7-8 months, maybe 6 months, maybe. But I just, maybe even here, like, are we here versus here? I don't know, but I still think that we have another room, maybe another lick up, and then that would be the end of the cycle. It's just based on looking at liquidity and based on what happened during previous cycle. I don't think the bullish band is contracted sufficiently for me to think that the cycle is really over yet. So AMD, what do I think about AMD? I think AMD has been showing extreme weakness, and I think AMD has been showing extreme weakness really for a very long time already. If you're looking at the RSI on the monthly, you can clearly see the RSI has just been dropping over here for like 5 years, right? Even as price was going up. So you know that AMD has been exhausted is this bull trend here for a very long time. And this whole cool down here of RSI is actually going to allow price to go up a lot higher whenever it decides to do so. I think that the lower the price goes on low volume, you can see how for the entire year since March of 2024 up to now, AMD has basically just been a straight going. No, it's just been straight going down. Volume also has been straight going down. So the entire thing over here is, to me, is more or less a little bit of grab. I'm gonna make sure I put that on there. So the entire thing, to me, I think is a little bit more of a necessary correction because things are just way overheated here for years, from like 2017, 2016, 2020. It just needed to kind of cool down. That's exactly what it's doing right now, and it's been cooling down for years. Do I think it's been cooled down enough? I think so, because the entire exhaustion over here was actually happening on declining volume, even dating back all the way down to 2022, even from this top over here. Did make a higher high, but I think the entire bull trend was exhausted. You just simply need to cool down. This is what it is, cooling down on declining volume. Whenever some volume comes in, it's going to explode to the upside. The only issue is I don't think anybody really knows how low this is going to go, and whenever, like, nobody really knows when the volume is going to come in. There are some that are speculating maybe February is going to be it, but you're also losing a lot of momentum here. You're also talking about the monthly Ichimoku cloud being all the way down here to the 90s, right? I don't know, man. I mean, I'm looking at this. You're also talking about the low bullish band here down in 80s, right? But I think that this is a pretty decent zone for it to bounce. I think that if you're looking for confluence, perhaps the 0.382 log fib here might be the answer. If it ends up continuing just breaking down 0.5, but this is not like a false breakout this month. It's a monthly chart. Month's not over yet, right? It could just be awake and it can be holding 0.5, which is an important level because it was previously resistance here, and it could serve as support here. Entirely possible. If it ends up breaking down, I really don't see it really just plummeting through the cloud. I just have a hard time envisioning that, especially on low volume. So I think that 96.5, which is the 0.32, and 95.79, which is the top Ichimoku cloud here for the next month, would probably be the lowest that it goes. And there's no guarantee it's going to go down here. Again, it can keep going down low volume. There's no guarantee, right? I mean, they're just like a cell program here. They can do whatever the heck they want to do on low volume. They can do whatever the heck they want to do on low volume. It doesn't matter. There could be a flush going down, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. But do I think that this whole thing is manipulated, and do I think that there is some secret buying pressure here? Heck yeah! I just kind of showed this chart here and comparing this to Tesla, right? You remember this downtrend, right? And this all happening with increasing unbalanced volume, right? What happened last time? I saw something like that last time. Was this Tesla downtrend over here from like July 2023 all the way down to April 2024? And on balance volume has been going up. You have some crazy bullish diversion that's been building up. You still end up having a crazy flush down, right? It doesn't mean you're not going to have a crazy flush down here, just like what AMD could be doing. But I just see a big, giant bullish diversion that's been building up. Doesn't mean you're not going to flush it, grab the final liquidity, and try to use that as a spring to go up. you could also argue that last couple of weeks, you also have some pretty decent volume over here too. You can argue that as well. But I just don't know. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna start catching up here. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna talk about two other stocks. Then I'm gonna do a bunch of requests here real quick. The one that everybody wants to find out more about is, of course, Tesla, because it's just been absolutely brutal, right? It went all the way to like the 480s, and now it's like in the 360s. Oh no. Oh no. I gotta be completely honest with you. I was kind of sharing this with the great Masby and Danny. I was talking to a few people about the Tesla chart here. I gotta be completely honest with you. I'm not completely ruling out, and this is like something that's like completely insane for me to say. I'm not completely ruling out the possibility of this thing right here being a fractal of this thing right here, which means ugh, right? Which means ugh. How likely do I think that is? I think it's unlikely. I think there's like maybe like a 5 or 10% chance where we're seeing right here, where the trees are top, is the same thing as we're seeing over here. I think it's about like 5 to 10% chance. I think there is a 95% chance where we're seeing right here is the beginning of something beautiful like it is over here or like it is over here, right? I still think there's a greater chance that is the case. The thing, nobody can really guarantee it, right? But if you're talking about FIB levels, if things have really broken, and this is log FIB, if things have broken about the 0.786, something like this that happens is usually pretty unusual. It's usually actually pretty unusual. Usually, once it breaks out 0.786, it keeps making all-time highs. So the probability of that is good that it's going to do that. I think that the most likely scenario now, looking at the weekly chart here, I'm going to put up the volume here. I think the most likely scenario now that it's just been kind of going down in low volume, and again, nobody knows how low volume downtrend can go. It could go a lot lower. It should. It can even go all the way down to 295. I don't think that's very likely. I think that what's more likely is going to probably just back to the 1786 over here around 350, 347 range and find some pretty decent support here. And once you find some pretty decent support here, it's probably going to have a pretty decent balance. If it doesn't, you can even wick down below that and try to grab liquidity down below, take up stop loss. Because a lot of people probably have like stop loss around 350. Take up a lot of stop loss and then go up higher. I think it's possible. I would say the 0.618 is probably the lowest that would go based on probability speaking. And I'm like about 95% certain, right? I think I might be about like 80% certain, but I think it should hold the 0.386 here around 350. I'm maybe like 80% certain, right? It's all a probability game because they can keep pulling the stock down on low volume, but I just see a lot of confluence right around the area. Like the program support band, right? It's right there. Like the Ichimoku Tenkan is right there. So I'm just seeing a lot of confluence to tell me, hey, I think 350, 347 is probably going to be the lowest that it's going to go. And it's still a bull market as far as I know. Up, higher highs, higher lows. I'm not going to bet against it. So, am I going to buy? I would maybe a little bit tempted if I wasn't poor, a cash poor. If I wasn't poor, I would probably try to buy some here at 350 because I still think that this is a higher low here. And looking at Matt's and Danny's charts, I think that Tesla is going to do just fine. I'm just going to leave it as that. Palantir, what the heck? I'm not going to do anything. I mean, all I can say is I think that is a closer week about the 1.414, which increases the chance for it to go to 1.618 here. If you check out my collaborator, the great Matsby's X, you can see that he did again here. I'm not going to reproduce it because I don't have it. He did again here, basically showing you that is again arc resistance. So that's why it might be stalling here a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it could be resistance of the again. It could just end up hovering around the 1.414. It can even be a little bit of a false breakout here and get underneath the 1.414, get back underneath $100. I just think that this thing is just like very really really impulsive, right? On the daily, you can see what it's been doing. Like, why do I think that there's a good chance next week would end up seeing red here in Palantir? Because you look at the daily chart. First of all, you have a little bit of high volume selling back on Friday. you have a pretty nasty looking, like a shooting star type candle here on Friday with a big giant wick above. You're way outside the upper Bollinger Band here on the daily, and there's just a lot of things that might be a little bit stacking against it on the short term. Now, does that mean I'm going to try to like sell and try to buy back lower? Where am I going to buy back? Is it going to come down to the 80s and close the gap? I don't think so. I don't really care about any of that. I cannot bet against. I cannot bet against a parabolic bull trend on really good volume. I just cannot bet against it. Last time I seen something like this, actually, I've never seen something like this, where it's just how many green candles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All green candles, right? Like even for Bitcoin, even for like the parabolic bull trend of 2015, 2017, where Bitcoin just kept going up higher, it has some red candles here and there. Like even for NVIDIA, when it was just having that big giant parabolic bull trend, it still ended up having some red candles here and there. Now maybe we're like at right around here of what the Palantir bull trend is. I don't know. It just seems like there might be a little bit more room to go up, right? I don't know, right? I don't know exactly where it's going to be. All I know is for Palantir, the trend is your friend, and the trend is very, very bullish, and there's no sign that it's gonna stop. Even if you have these crazy minus 20, 30% downtrend, gonna scare everybody, gonna get everybody shaken up. Even if you have that happening, it's still a bull trend until proven otherwise. Because this is very, very impulsive. Now, because of that, I think it has enough momentum to hit the 1.618. Whether or not it's going to hit some of the higher levels like 300, 500, I don't know. I'm just speculating. I don't know, actually. Apple hit its 2.272 FIB level on the log scale. NVIDIA hit that, right? The SMH, the semiconductor ETF, hit the 2.618, right? So I don't know whether or not Palantir is going to hit there. But we'll see. Right now, MicroStrategy has got rejected at 1.618 and has been very, very brutal ever since, right? It got rejected by 1.618, has been hovering underneath 1.44. So you never really know how far parabolic bull trend is going to go, but I'm not going to bet against it, especially since I did a poll and it sounds like half of the people already sold or is shorting. The other half of people is just kind of hodling. I don't think anybody's really buying Palantir. All right, let's do chart requests. Let's do it. Let's do it. Happy to take a look at everything. I'm going to first go to Doge because that's what Christian has requested right off the bat. So I'm going to look at Doge here. Now, I do have to say the downtrend of Doge it's a little bit worse than what I would expect originally, but I still think the trend is high, is bull because of higher high and it's trying to form a higher low here. And all Doge is doing is just basically back testing the breakout zone of this 22, 23 cents that we had back in March where you got rejected here, right? That's all it is really doing. And you still have a very nice Bollinger expansion. You still have the 20 moving average crawling up. And we just simply got way too far above the up Bollinger Band here back in November, right? It's cooling down. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. If you look at the weekly here, I'm going to turn on the GAN here. If you look at a weekly here, initially I was hoping that you hold the arc here like it did over here and just kind of push up, but no, this cycle is just slower. It couldn't hold the arc, so it just kind of come back down here to grab liquidity, right? Where are we at right now? Well, we are at the bottom of the monthly Ichimoku cloud. We bounce off of that, right? So we are still doing okay. We still have plenty of really strong support levels here below. Although I think this downtrend over here is, just unfortunately, it's just extremely brutal. Where do I think we're at right now? I think that well, how do I say this? I think if this is the bottom of the cycle, I think this whole thing right here. I think this whole thing from like June 2022 all the way to like the angle over here, March 2024. I think this whole thing right here may be wave one, right? Wave one, 2. Well, sorry, 1, 2. It's hard to say. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think this is wave 2. This whole thing right there, I think is wave 2. I think this whole thing right here is the wave 3, and it's like the first part of wave 3. So I think that the wave 3 of 3 is going to be the most impulsive, and I think it's probably going to have enough energy to kind of push up to the arc up here, which is kind of insane for me to say, but I really do believe that that's going to happen. But we'll see. What I believe doesn't matter because the market doesn't listen to me, right? But I'm still leaning towards bullish because I'm delusional. So it did bring underneath the arc here, though. But I still want to kind of illustrate one thing here. Last time when it was kind of stuck in the arc, it was stuck between 0.76 and 0.618. It was stuck between the golden pocket. Now here, unfortunately, even though last week we closed perfectly at the 0.618, right? This week we're underneath of that. The Sunday night plummet to all the way to Monday really has caused some technical damage here. Now it would be a miracle if we end up closing this candle on Sunday above all of these areas over here, and we end up closing a candle above the 0.618. Then it'll still be stuck in the range. I still think it might be a little bit of deviation because like how there's a deviation up here went a little bit too far about the 0.786. This over here went a little bit below 0.618. If it's just deviation, it doesn't matter. It's still stuck in range. Right. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking at here when it comes to Doge. Ultimately, I still think that it's a higher high, it's formed a higher low, and I still think that once it has built up enough energy to push through this whole giant range of resistance here, is probably going to go up to the arc up here above. Before you break up out all these important things, you also was talking about the range over here with all this GAN resistance is all at the Ichimoku cloud, right? You're building up energy here. You're basically back testing where you need back test to build up enough energy to kind of go up to the next level. That's what I'm seeing with Doge, to be honest. So I'm not that scared with Doge. You're talking about Doc with hats. There's not a whole lot of history for me to really chart. I think that these memes, unfortunately, they're going to keep pumping out different memes. And the next one's going to pump is something you haven't heard of yet. So I think that right now, the issue is touching a low Bollinger Band here on the weekly, right? But these could be more or less like liquidity grab. Like if I'm going to go for a meme coin, I might stick with the originals like Dogecoin and Shiba. Even like Bonk and Pepe are kind of underperforming. I think there's just yeah, people are looking for reason to excuse to get out of them. So it's just form a lower low compared to that. And the Bollinger Band's expanding here on a weekly. I don't like it. I just don't know, like, there's not enough history here for me to really feel that confident about it. It did have 2 touch on the lower Bollinger Band here, which is good, but it's still not meeting a lot of my criteria for when I actually want to catch a falling knife. I'm not seeing any bullish divergence here, so, even on the weekly chart, so I would stay away. It's what I would do because it's a falling knife. Probably not what you want to hear, but what I'm seeing is what I'm seeing. I could be wrong. The market doesn't have to listen to me. POWL, Powell Industries. I wonder if Jerome has anything to do with this. Looks like, interesting. Higher highs, higher lows for the most part. Gonna go to the monthly here. A lot of wicks above. Let me see. FIB level. I'm gonna do it from 2014 to the COVID low here. It's hitting the 2 FIB level here. Last time it got stuck at a 1.618 here for a very long time, right? So I am going to put out the RSI here, and I bet I see some exhaustion, and I do. Very, very strong bull trend is kind of getting towards the end. If I pull a Bollinger Band here, you see a contraction, and I do. So the way I see it is it can have another leg up, right? It can even have another leg all the way down up to I'm going to say like maybe the 2.272. I can totally see it even getting up to 2.272 here on bearish divergence. Or this could be the top. I don't know. I think it's a very, very similar spot as NVIDIA, hitting some huge resistance here, showing a lot of exhaustion. It could have another exhaustive move up to 2.272, and that could be the end of the cycle. If I'm wrong, it can even go all the way up to 2.22618, right? Have another crazy exhaustive move and then that would be the end of the cycle. But I'm starting to see concern here on this stock here. So if you got in low, I think it's probably time to take profit. If you're still in, I think it might be good to continue to monitor Bollinger Band and continue to kind of monitor the trend, because I think this is a little bit of a late cycle here. That's what I'm worried about based on what I'm seeing. So what is next? TTWO, Take-Two Interactive Software, very bullish. It's actually just look like maybe the start of something beautiful here with a very green candle here. The only issue is trying to break about the previous all-time high, and that you could definitely have some strong resistance level here. You can see how once it broke through the golden pocket, once it broke through the 0.76, it's probably destined to make some all-time high stuff, and it's still going to be close to resistance zone over here. So it's probably need to build up more energy, push through. But I think the bullish band expansion is really allowing things to look pretty bullish here. You know, you are a little bit too far away from the tank, and so you might need to kind of hover around the 0.86 here for a little bit before going up higher. I just don't think that you're just going to keep going up, right? You need to wait for a bull trend to kind of also expand to allow price to go up. But this is a very, very beautiful bull trend that's being built up. I think it might be a beginning of something beautiful. So, yeah, hitting resistance zone on a bull trend, expect volatility, expect correction, expect any day it can go down 20 or 30 bucks, and it will still be bullish. That's kind of my take on this. That's kind of my take two on this. If you want higher FIB level, extension, all that good stuff, if it's able to break above all that, the cycle could potentially end at any of these levels up here. 272, 308, 368. Think about it. The other one is RMBS, RMBS. Forming a cup here. I'm not bearish on this. Very nice trident here. Let me see if there's enough volume. The only issue is like this up is on pretty low volume here, so you're probably gonna get again rejected here again. The other issue here too, because I'm looking at a monthly chart, I can see just by looking at this, I can see how this bull trend over here that's lasted for like 5 years is getting tired. They just need to take a break because you have a lot of these bearish divergences that's been happening, right? That's how you end up having a downtrend like this. I don't know whether or not it's going to be able to kind of break above, because I do see a trend line here. I think that you're going to probably maybe end up having a little bit more upside here, but you might be hitting some resistance here pretty soon, and we'll have to see how it reacts there. Volume is declining. You're getting to a previous all-time high zone. Be careful. I do think that this is a very good bottom. But I would not surprise if it ends up getting rejected and come back down to the cloud before bouncing up higher, just because this is a very, very strong bull trend. It needs to digest this move. Maybe this is the digestion. Maybe this is it, but I just don't know whether or not it's going to come back and back test there a little bit. One other thing too, I generally like to look at is to look at the 20-month moving average. There is a potential where I could be wrong that it doesn't ever come back here at all. The reason why is because whenever you have things that are flattening with the 20-month moving average here flattening, if you're getting underneath of it, I always worry about this being a cycle ender, and they can just keep going down from there, again rejected at the 20-month moving average, just go down, right? Trend reversal. Here, I'm seeing a little bit something different here. Here, I'm seeing 20-month moving average up, turning flat here. Things got underneath of it, back test the low volume here perfectly, and now you got pushed back above of it, granted on low volume, so it's not really trustworthy, but it probably has enough juice to kind of push up here, do up a Bollinger Band here. And depending how it reacts, if it comes back and just touch a 20, and then you can just end up going a lot higher from there. If it touches the Bollinger Band, comes back and breaks down underneath the 20, then go, right? Very, very important zone over here to look at. Although I don't like the volume. That's what I'm going to say. So decision point. Is it a good enough setup for me to want to enter? Probably not, unless if you know the company. If you think that they're going to do very well fundamentally, that's a very different story. So, hoping Red Monday allows me to get more hymns before earnings. Yeah, when it comes to hymns, though, it's just such a big parabolic bull trend. Like the Bollinger Band is all the way down here. It's kind of like what Palantir is doing. So there's no reason to like be bearish on it. If it goes down 20%, sure. Could it come back down to the 1.4 and 4 here in backtest? Sure, that's possible. Could it go just touch the upper monthly Buffalo Bollinger Band here around $37.41? Sure, that's possible. But like I just yeah, there I don't know. If I look at log fibs, maybe it gives me some different levels. Aha, aha. There's trouble there in the hymns paradise. There is trouble here at the hymns paradise. Got close to the 1.272 here, got rejected. Now you're underneath the 1.26 right into earnings at resistance on pretty overextended bull trend. Yeah, a little bit of a trouble here in paradise, but you do have enough volume here. Man, I'm conflicted. I don't know. I'm conflicted. I don't like resistance into earnings. Most likely it would come back. Maybe it will back test this previous breakout zone over around $35. Do you have enough support down below? You have Tenkin right there at around 35. Good. You have one support band all the way down here around 26. I'm just, looking at the downside risk here. Look at the Super Ichi cloud. Yeah, everything is down. All right, look at the monthly chart here. What I'm seeing here, the Ichimoku. Rising Tengen at 30. Let's see. If I look at the Super Ichi, Tenken and Kijin around like the low 30s. Those are going to be a downside risk. I don't like resistance, and it's a pretty important resistance level there. So even if earnings is good, a lot of it might already been priced in. So, whew, don't make me stop you from making money though, right? If I bought down here, I'm just gonna hold. I'm just trying to add here, however low it goes, like 30, 25. I don't care. I don't think it's gonna go down to 25, but 30, low 30s. 35, cool, right? There's always a small chance, I think like maybe 10 or 15, 20% that I could be wrong. It's just kind of moving from here. I doubt it, just because it's just a little bit overextended above the Tenkin here. See, last time it was over extended above the Tenkin, the blue line over here. Got kind of punished, right? So I just don't know. Anyway, that's what I thought about hymns. And the other chart is grab, and I never recommend anybody grabbing anybody without consent because it's just simply not cool to do that. I don't know. I mean, like I got in school without consent. You gotta be a little bit more cautious here before you go and grab somebody. But you can see how it's right at the 0.382 resistance level right there, right? Not making it up. You can see it. Resistance, tweezer top, had to find a lower high. No, sorry, a higher low over here. Look at the Bollinger Band. Why couldn't you just push through? Because you're waiting for the Bollinger Band to expand, so you can actually have a continuation of the bull trend here. Right now, you're waiting for the Bollinger Band to expand. It's expanding right now. Upper Bollinger Band is around $5, so it's gonna probably continue to expand, allow price to get to the 0.618, which is $8. How fast would it get up there? I do not know. This downtrend here on declining volume looks pretty good. Nobody knows how long it's going to end up getting stuck here, 0.382 here. You can end up getting stuck here for a lot longer than I think. But overall, this is a bull trend. And overall, you have this beautiful look where you have the bullish cross here, back tested kitchen, back tested Tenkin, got back above both, back testing it again. This is how Palantir broke out. Although Palantir broke out at like a lot higher FIB level, right? Basically, you had a bullish cross here, backtest Tenkin, backtest Kijin, push through, backtest Tenkin again before it runs up, right? Maybe Grab is maybe potentially building up on some very similar morphology here. It probably end up hitting the cloud up here too, though, around $6.38 or 39 cents before it gets up to $8 and 0.618. Ultimately, I think this cycle will probably end up in the golden bucket here, the $8 or 11.50. When it ends up there, we'll see how it reacts. If it ends up getting rejected 0.76 hard, then that could be the cycle ender. If it ends up pushing above that, then you talk about some potential all-time high stuff. But one step at a time, I'm not going to say this is going to Palantir its way up all the way to all-time highs. I'm going to say that there are resistance here at the immature cloud, the leading span A, which is going to be around 6.4, 0.618, which is going to be around 8, and 0.786, which is around 1150, right there. The reason why I'm looking at higher target is because I think that this is a pretty good correction already of this move up. I don't think it has to correct that much further. If it does go down, it could always backtest the kitchen down here around 4.18, but I think that there's more upside here compared to the downside at where we're at right now. Right? I don't think it has to come back all the way down to backtest the 20-month moving average. I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. That's grab. Mau Mau is not a ticker, Benedict. I'm gonna look at LTBR Lightbridge. Lightbridge looks good right off the bat. Like I Japan on the monthly. That's all I need in the volume. That's all I need. This breakout over here, it's a pretty good breakout. There's not really any volume that look like this, right? There's a big accumulation zone over here for a very long time. This is like an Adam and Eve kind of accumulation over here in the final handle of this like Eve bottom, of this like cup and handle. And it's looking really beautiful right now. The 20-month moving average flip resistance to support, right? And you also had a bullish engulfing candle here, and you also have a very, very impulsive bullish band expansion. This thing looks like it wants to go up higher. The question is it going to go up higher this month, or are we going to end up getting rejected here at the horizontal zone over here, which is a pretty important horizontal zone over here, right? I do not know when it's going to break out. It looks like it wants to because you finally have the volume to do so, but I just don't know when that's going to be. On the other hand, it's already broken out if you look at Ichimoku, right? It's already broken out. And you look at how beautiful Ichimoku has been over the years, ever since the great financial crisis. Look how beautiful it is. Rejection, right? Rejection over here. We got rejected over here a couple of times over the last few years, right? Rejection. And we flipped that. Finally, it found a vulnerability spot here, a thin cloud, broke through, and right now you're above the cloud. This is a bull trend. If it comes back and backtest the cloud at $8, buy. Right? Not financial advice. If it ends up coming back and backtest like $8, buy. That's all I gotta say. The other thing is buy Big Bear. Why you should buy a stock that's called Big Bear? I think it's a double bottom. I think it's broken out. I think I charted this last month. It looks like it was ready to go. It went. It's pushing through 0.786 here. It pushed for 0.618. It might still end up closing a month underneath the 0.786 because it's a very important fit level here. So I don't know whether or not it's just going to end up just pushing up higher, especially when it's way above the upper Bollinger Band. You might need some correction here, guys. I don't know if it doesn't listen to me. If Big Bear AI wants to just keep on like bearing its way all the way up to like the 1.618, that's fine. Like $125 from like $8, that's fine. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's probably going to get rejected here at the 0.786. I think it's going to probably need to come back at somewhere, find a higher low. I don't think anybody really knows where the higher low is going to be, but I think it probably need to do that. If you look at the weekly here, in terms of trying to find a higher low, you can look and see what a bonus support band is all the way underneath that breakout zone. Look at Ichimoku, it's all right underneath that breakout zone. So do I want to buy this breakout? No. I mean, I don't know it's going to end up getting rejected here. I don't know how low the correction is going to go. But if I would have bought down here at the double bottom, I'd probably just keep holding. If it comes all the way back down to the 0.618, which I don't think it's going to, if it comes all the way back down to 0.618, buy, right? It could also just kind of find support here at the zone over here around 5.6 or 6.5, somewhere around there. Maybe like halfway between 0.76 and 0.618 to the zone over here, back test it and just go higher. Or it could just end up challenging the previous all-time high. If it challenges all previous all-time high here, that's very unhealthy. And I think that's probably going to end up getting punished. But look at that big giant volume here. I cannot argue, right? Like you can keep going up there. That's fine. I would still look for a higher low before I get in, even if the higher low is like higher than where it is at right now. I just can't justify chasing. but it's man, it's just such a beautiful breakout. Okay, next is SoFi. Let's talk about SoFi. I love SoFi. You want to talk about SoFi? I might as well talk about all the fintech here. The week closed at above my Gann arc here. I really thought that this Gann arc was going to hold. If it doesn't hold, it would come back down to the 0.618 confluent zone with the angle support here. But this arc here could hold, right? You've been basically starting this resistance here, broke through here, and back test the arc. That's what I think. So if this arc here holds, then you keep going up, and I think you have enough energy to probably push through the 0.786 back test, going challenge the previous all-time high, right? To the arc up here above. If it doesn't, it could break down back to the zone over here. I think there's a lot of support down here below at the 0.618 here, nevertheless, to double tap it before going up higher. It doesn't have to because it already tapped that area, right? Do I worry that this trend here is exhausted? Yeah, you got a little bit of a bearish divergence here, which is why you have all this down candle because price went up on bearish divergence. You're correcting sideways here. Could you correct sideways here a little bit longer? Yes, it can, right? Can you even wick underneath the 0.618 and then just go higher? Yes, it can. But things go up on bearish divergence all the time. So I'm not gonna be that worried about it. I just want to point out because you do have a bearish divergence here. I think this like move up here has been getting tired. It's probably if you're in a elite wave, this is probably wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could have a longer corrective wave, right? You can wick down underneath the zone over here, and that's fine. I just don't know whether or not I should be that bearish if you have a confluence of support zone over here. But just know that I'm not selling. It doesn't mean that price cannot break down underneath like 13.69 and go down lower. It could very well just bounce from here and just keep going up higher. It could very well do that. This could be a wave. Well, okay. This could be like wave 1. This could be wave 2, right? A prolonged wave 2. This could be wave 1 of 3, and this could be wave 2 of 3, and wave 3 of 3 could be a lot higher. That's what I think about SoFi, right? If I'm like crazy insanely bullish on this, which I think I might be, you have the Bollinger expansion here, 20-month moving average going up. I still think this is just consolidating sideways here. Correct this big giant 2-month candle all the way from $8 all the way to like 16. It's just correcting sideways, forming a bull flag. How low is it going to go for this higher low? I don't know. I don't care, honestly. Those are just some of the ideas I've thrown out. It could just already been correcting enough. It already backed as a 0.618 and held, and it could be moon time from here. Or it could go a little bit lower and go higher. Either way, I don't care. If I am looking at a couple other fintech here, AFRM has kind of give you an idea in terms of what SoFi is going to do. I think SoFi might follow AFRM here a little bit. We'll see, right? But AFRM had a bullish engulfing candle here. It looks like it just wants further bullish continuation. I have again here for AFRM where I really thought that it was underneath resistance here at the arc, but it's got a bullish support band as tailwind. I thought it was going to break out, and I thought it was going to go to 0.786 here. It looks like it did break out, so I can erase the arrow here now. And it already formed a higher high here compared to there, so I think it's probably grabbing up to the 0.786 here, around $92.56. What it's going to do over there once it gets there, I don't know. That's going to be a pretty important resistance zone because it was also kind of support here as well. So that's going to be a pretty important zone over there, but that's probably where it's going to go next. Robinhood's extremely bullish. It is doing the unthinkable. It broke about the 0.786 here. So maybe that's also telling you a little bit of what could happen to a firm. Maybe 0.786 is really not that scary because Robinhood doesn't care. It just pushed through. It wants to go to 0.86. It wants to go to get ARKK over here. Could come back and back test the 0.786 before going higher. It can certainly do that. But it's a very, very impulsive bull trend. If you are also just looking at the all these like fintech stocks, if you look at the monthly bullish band, it's very, very impulsive to the upside and to the downside. Both, AFRM is not that bullish. It still hasn't had the low bullish band expansion because it's gone sideways here for the entire year. Not like what Robinhood has been doing. It's just been up only for the entire year. But even Ethereum is having its upper Bollinger Band here being expanded. So there's nothing really that bearish, right? Same look to what Palantir did before it breaks out, backtested Tenkan-Kijun. It's all of these fintech stocks look very nice. Robin, I'm actually worried that is a little bit too far overextended away from the Tenkan. At some point, it'll be healthy. It comes back down, back test, but it doesn't have to listen to what I have to say. Crazy amount of Bowser candle here for the monthly here so far. It looks like you just want to keep going up higher. PayPal, what's going on PayPal? Probably going to come back to like 75, which is going to be the Tenkan here. Probably going to come back to, if it goes down lower, it's possible too. You can go back down to like 72 at the kitchen. That's possible. Looking at Bollinger Band, they're probably going to come, let's see, probably going to come back here to touch the lower Bollinger Band here on the weekly, right around 75. That's what I think, right? Big volume, no wake, probably have some bearish continuation. How far down? I don't know. Maybe even wicks down below 75, go down to 72 or something like that. That might be a pretty good support zone for PayPal. But you already kind of saw it coming because you're hitting ARK resistance here. I wasn't sure it was going to hit ARK resistance or it was going to push for the ARK and then hit the 0.32 and back test ARK and go higher. But this whole trend up here has been on declining volume. It's tired. It needs to take a break. This is the break. But yeah, I just can't show you some of the levels here. I'm not bearish on XYZ or previous known as SQ because it broke about the 0.382. And it's broke about the 0.382 and is also hovering underneath the 2-week Ichimoku cloud. It looks like it wants to break out with a rising Tenkan. I think it will break out. All it has to do over the next month is to do nothing. It'll break out of the cloud and it allows it to kind of go up a lot higher. This consolidation zone over here is on declining volume. Build up a lot of energy, getting a lot of people frustrated because everything else has been pumping. Next thing you know, Square goes all the way up to 120. And I think it will most likely go up to 120 because that's where the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud up here is. After you broke above this invert head and shoulder pattern and back testing it at the 0.382, where is it going to go? It's going to make to the target up here above, right? $40 is the head, right? $80 is the shoulder, right? Or not the shoulder, $80 is the neckline, right? So 80 minus 40 plus is 40, right? So sorry, I'm going to say this. $80 is the neckline, $40 is the head. So the target is going to be 120. Which is right at the Ichimoku cloud right there. It's going to pump about 50% sometime in Q1 and Q2. Probably. Not a guarantee. I'm not saying to like buy leaps or anything like that because I could be wrong. I've been wrong many times. I've been wrong, so wrong. It's so wrong. I'm so wrong. Don't listen to me. Bollinger Band is expanding a lot to go up there, but so wrong. Don't listen to me, right? I'm so wrong. Don't listen to me. Is it a good time to start accumulating SOFI? I don't know. I'm gonna hold. I'm gonna say my answer is I don't know what is gonna be the risk. What's gonna be good for you. All I know is I bought lower, but I'm not seeing enough reason for me to want to sell. It really does challenge you psychologically because it can still wick down underneath. It can do some pretty horrible things. News can come and it can scare the crap out of you. I don't care because my cost average is in the 7s. I don't care. I can handle it psychologically. If you're buying up here around 14 or 15, can you handle these kind of psychological moves, right? Can you handle what the market makers could potentially do to you? If you can, then this is a pretty decent long-term risk-reward ratio, right? This is decent long-term risk-reward ratio. It's probably going to go up higher, but Cat didn't ask you to buy. That's what I'm just gonna say. Am I taking requests? Should I look at RGTI? I think all of these different quantum computing stocks are looking pretty decent, with RGTI being one of the more bullish ones. Because RGTI is just touching the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. Whereas if you look at QBTS, is underneath the monthly Bollinger Band, right? Look at the QUBT, it's underneath the upper Bollinger Band, right? The only one that could rival it is IONQ, right? So it's showing some relative strength here, guys. Matt, I think it's showing some relative strength. I also did like some, Gann chart. Actually, like whenever people get scared, these big giant move from like $20 all the way down to 5, and I think the bull market is over. Look at log. Look at log. It went from like 66 cents to like 20, right? From 20 to 5 it's just a higher low. If you don't look at log, if you look at linear, then everything is scary, you know. But if you look at log, it makes a lot more sense. And if I pull up the my GAN here, you can see how it is challenging a previous all-time high here. It also is finding pretty decent support at the GAN arc here, right? Just stuck inside the GAN arc, going sideways. Trying to break above, couldn't able to. Could it come back and try to wick down below? Possible. Could it do this like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and then go up? It can. It's made a big giant move. Like, do I think that this thing's gonna go up tomorrow? No. No. But are they accumulating? I think they are. I think they're reaccumulating this. I don't think the bull cycle is over because of the impulsivity. I don't think this pump is over, but I don't know. That's the thing. Like, do I want to buy this? I don't know. I think like $6 would have been a great area to buy, but like I don't know if I want to buy here. It's just the risk is way elevated. Granted, this thing can go up to like $100, and I would have been missing a boat. But I just don't like to chase, and I think this is a hold. If I would have bought down here, I think this is a hold, and I would like to see where it goes because I still think that the chance of having bullish continuation is like 85% to me. Anyway, if you look at the like Ichimoku, you also have a very beautiful katana, and things are still about the Tenkan Kijin. So that tells me most likely you're going to have some bullish continuation. Last time, if things were underneath of it, then I'd be a little bit skeptical, right? If things are underneath the Tenkan Kijin with the katana, then I'll be a little bit skeptical, right? But if things are above the Tenkan Kijin, then you might have some further bullish continuation. So that's what I think. Man, you guys are just out here for blood with like all these chart requests. I love it. I love it. eBay. eBay. Um, at some point, I do want to end the show with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and MSTR, Coinbase, and the miners. I'm gonna speed run through them at the end of the show. So yeah, I'll get to them. So don't worry about any of this. I don't hold any of the popular quantum stocks. I missed the boat. I don't like to chase. And I thought about buying the big giant plummet, but there's just so many things to buy. I just hate chasing, so I'm not going to do it. But I think they're going to have some bullish continuation. So eBay bull trend, very very beautiful bull trend. Bullish cross here to Tenkan Kijin, broke about the monthly cloud from all time high here to the low here, the cycle low here. Guess what? You're at the 0.76 fit level resistance. You can't make this stuff up, right? It's trying to break above that for 5 months. It's not having a very good luck doing so far, but if you break above the 0.76, then you have a good chance to challenge the all-time high. I don't really have a whole lot to say is that resistance, but he is at resistance for about 5 months. Is it going to keep going? Potentially, because the Bollinger Band is expanding, right? Here, Bollinger Band wasn't expanded far enough yet. Here, Bollinger Band was expanding, but you got a little bit way too far above the upper Bollinger Band here. Here, just hovering underneath the 0.76. I think it's getting ready to push through. Let's see if it has volume coming in, though. This is a beautiful chart, eBay. Like a big giant cup over here. At some point, like this could be the handle right here, but at some point, if it decides to form another handle, you can't stop it from happening at resistance. But I think it's probably already formed a handle for this big giant cup that it wants to challenge the previous all-time high. Is my best guess. I don't think it's way too far overextended. I think it's where it needs to be to potentially break above, but we'll see. That was eBay. Let me take a sip of tea here. While I drink some tea on one hand, I'm gonna use my other hand here to scroll my mouse here. ALGS, interesting. Stuck between the 0.382 and 0.236, right? It's bullish because it's reclaimed the 20-month moving average. I didn't even have to look. I didn't even have to pull it up. I already knew that I reclaimed the 20-month moving average just by looking at what it's been doing over the last 20 months. It's flipped it from resistance here to support, right? And it's close to the bottom of the range of the 0.236 and 0.382. So I think the risk reward ratio is decent. The lowest it get, I think, is probably gonna be, $21 to 0.236 here. 19.17 is the 20-month moving average. That's your lower end of your risk. The higher end is $44 and potentially like $57, right? Certainly seem like the risk reward ratio is skewed towards reward. That's what I think. And that was a quick chart. Looking at the Tenkan Kitchen here, it's trying to reclaim the Tenkan. We'll see whether or not it's able to, but it's still underneath resistance here, right? So maybe you're also going to get some resistance here around $33 here as well. But I do think that it's range bound between the 44 and 21. I think it's just range bounds at a lower part of the range. So see how it goes. But yeah, lower part of the range, decent risk reward ratio. So Path. Do I like Path? I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Had a bearish cross, but you have a negative sloping Tenkan. You're reclaiming the Tenkan here. I actually think that it's not a bad chart. It's hovering underneath a flattened 20-month moving average. It's just been oscillating between the 20-month moving average here. I don't think it's a bad chart. The only thing I don't like is how low Boltzmann is expanding down to the downside. So that's not going to be good support. And the 20-month moving average is still kind of a little bit negative sloping here. So I don't know if I want to get into it. If you look at the weekly, you can see it's underneath resistance, right? I think I showed this earlier, how I think it's going to get rejected here at the weekly Ichimoku cloud when price went all the way from like $13 to like $15. I thought it was going to get rejected here at the weekly Ichimoku cloud. It's a pretty thick cloud here, so maybe there's going to be a little bit more dead money here. If it pushes through the cloud, back to this cloud, go up higher, then great. Like how it did over here, right? Big, thick cloud, was able to push through, back test the cloud here, did nothing for like months, was able to push through the cloud, but it found a moment of vulnerability with bad earnings. It just plummeted all the way down. And now you're trying to do the same thing here again. So I think that it's either going to push through inside the cloud and do nothing for a while, for like a couple months at least, or it's going to get rejected here to the cloud and it's going to hover underneath the cloud over here and do like nothing for like a month or two. I don't think it's ready yet. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Do I think it has bottomed? It probably bottomed. It probably did bottom. I also don't have a guarantee on that too, but I think it probably bottomed. But I'm looking at dead money here. With all these wicks above, I'm looking at dead money here. Bull run support band. You're able to reclaim that, so maybe that would allow you to have a better chance to break into the cloud here, right? But again, things break down underneath the bull run support band all the time. So I things break down underneath the bull run support band here all the time. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not feeling strong enough to want to get into that. I think I did this CLDI on the Triumvirate show with the tracker and the Great Matsby. I think the Tesla tracker had interviewed the CFO of the company on the stream. I call this Clinton disease, which I feel bad about now. But I guess not that bad because I bring it up again. I still think it's pretty funny, but you are underneath resistance here of the bull run support band on big volume though, right? So that's good. I also like you have a big volume rejection over here. That's not bad, right? That shows you that it wants to pump. It's showing you some colors here, but it's just right into resistance. So the entire time as it goes down, and again, I don't really have to show the RSI, but I can. I knew that it was going to have some kind of bullish divergence here. The entire time it's going down, has been going up on RSI has been going up. So you have ever since the stock was really being traded at like $100, it's been going down on bullish divergence. And the bullish divergence is getting stronger and stronger because RSI is getting higher and higher. Bullish divergence when RSI is down in like 8 or like in the teens is worthless, right? Bullish, I'm going to say that bullish divergence when RSI is down in the teens is worthless, right? But we have bullish divergence up here like in the 20s and 30s. They're like, maybe it's forming some bottoming behavior here, right? I cannot guarantee you that this is gonna bottom. The reason why I cannot guarantee you that this thing here as bottom is because look at how bad the RSI is, right? It's still in the single digits here on the monthly, right? You have a little bit of bullish divergence, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. I don't have a guarantee that this has bottomed. You can see how the 20-month moving average is still very negatively sloped. Even if it has a huge pump at some point, you're still going to hit some resistance here over the next few months. I don't think it's ready yet. The best thing I think it could do is to form some bottoming behavior here on the weekly. And it could potentially end up breaking above the zone and form some higher highs, higher lows here on the weekly chart, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I would want to hold this thing for years. If I'm in it, if I'm up a lot on it, at some point I probably want to trade out of it. That's kind of what I think based on the technicals, right? Tenkan is also negative sloping. You just got a lot of resistance here. So yeah, be careful here. But I could be wrong, right? I could very well be wrong. So, all right, been an hour, been a little bit over an hour since I've talked. I'm gonna take like a 3 to 5 minute break, and I'm gonna use the bathroom, drink some tea, and I'm gonna come back. If you guys have more requests, I'm gonna go through them. If not, I'm gonna go through Bitcoin, Ethereum, and MSTR miners, and then we'll end the show. How does that sound? That sounds great, doesn't it? Okay, let's do it. All right, I'm back. I think my viewer count went from like 80 to like 46 just because I went to pee. Yeah, so let's look at a couple other requests here. I'm gonna go to Bitcoin and Ethereum and end the show. First of all, I also wanted to say that there, I had a collaborative set of videos I just made with Charting Guy. I don't know if you guys know Charting Guy on X. He's got a lot of followers, and I'm gonna talk about miners towards the end. Don't worry. Yeah, he's got a lot of followers on X. He does pretty good work. He thinks that the cycle is going to end early. So I was having like a friendly discussion with him. I talked about Bitcoin, talked about Ethereum. So I'm going to probably release the first video later tonight, probably right after the live stream. We'll see. But I had a pretty long discussion with him. Part one is going to basically with him talking about how the thesis of how the cycle is ending soon, and then part two would be like my rebuttal to kind of show why it may not be. So I think it'd be a very, very interesting talk here. But with that said, without further ado, let's talk about a few charts here that you guys have requested. HUMA. What I'm seeing here is really a back test of this breakout zone over here, even though it's just kind of crazy in terms of how it looks. Now, a little bit trendless here, right? Up and down, up and down. Pull up some indicators here, broke underneath the 20-month moving average. Not necessarily favorable. Is it going to be the end of it? Maybe, maybe not. It's just been trendless here. Also broke down underneath the Tengen Kitchen over here. This looks a lot like Bit Farms, to be honest with you. It's just unfortunate. I think I'm not seeing a good trend here. I'm looking at a monthly. I just don't know what it's trying to do. It's just been oscillating over here side to side. I'm not seeing like a great setup here. Look at a weekly here, see if there's any potential things that you can trade. This actually looks a little bit more like SOFI, to be honest with you. So who knows if this is something that will have liquidity coming in. If you really truly believe that money's going to rotate into it, then it's not a bad look, right? Because it's just kind of back testing a previous breakout zone over here. If we put up the Ichimoku here weekly, it's not going to be that helpful. 2 week here, it kind of shows a little bit different picture. You just kind of push into Ichimoku, got rejected here at the top of Ichimoku. Come back down, back test the bottom of Ichimoku here, trying to push through, got rejected by the Tengen. It's just kind of hovering around here. It may want to break above and have some further bullish continuation. I think the 2 Ichimoku cloud here tells the best story. If you're looking at the bullish support band and you're looking at the weekly Ichimoku, it's like underneath resistance here. So probably more sideways consolidation here before it figures out its identity, whether or not it wants to go up or not. I don't know what the heck happened here with this big giant green volume here, which is interesting. It's I'm not seeing any like great bullish diversions here on our side. Let me see if I see, because there's some very interesting thing there on the volume. Yeah, the unbalanced volume has been, this is exactly the same thing with like SoFi or even like Upstart. You have a bullish divergence here that's being built up. Price going down, unbalanced volume going up. They're accumulating. They're accumulating. I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to go up. So, all right. How much higher? I don't know, but I just think directionally it's going to go up. So, Casper. Anybody still in this? Okay, let's look at is KS, right? Somebody asked me about Casper. I drew this big giant rounded circle over here back in July of 2024. I have not changed this. I thought that it looked weak, and it continues to look weak. And this whole like dome over here, I don't know is gonna form like a whole rainbow where it just kind of goes down. I don't know. All I know is I see weakness, and you already spot that from like a mile away because if you look at the RSI, it's just been as it goes up, it's just been weak, 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 right? Um, am I seeing any potential divergence here? Price going down, RSI. I don't trust this. I mean, I just don't. It looks like around the top. I'm gonna stay away from it. I'm gonna stay away from it. I don't have much else to say about this because the monthly RSI looks horrible. Like I don't know when it's gonna bounce. If it bounce, then I'm sorry, I lose your money, right? Like I'm seeing it be like all bearish here, but it also broke underneath the 2-week Ichimoku cloud here too. It's just showing a lot of weakness. I don't know when it's gonna recover or whether or not it's gonna end up bouncing with the rest of crypto. I just don't know. Even if it does, it might make like a little bit of like a low high because it's a bear trend. So yeah, be careful. I'm if it pumps from here, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get into it. So all right, that's it for that. Let's talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I'm going to go for the miners, including BTBT, MicroStrategy, Coinbase, and we'll end the show. Yeah, I end the show early. I usually do like a 2-hour thing, but um, going for 2 hours on just like one cat's voice is a little bit daunting here. All right, I have a few Gann charts here for the weekly chart. It's basically getting rejected here at resistance from multiple Gann here. It's underneath the angle here. Initially, I was hoping they would hold the angle here, but it looks like we might close the week underneath it, unless there's something miracle happens by tomorrow before it closes, and it just breaks back inside the angle and underneath the arc over here. Then they might mean that maybe next week's going to be where we're going to end up breaking out. Who knows, right? But it looks like it's the end of the line here. It really does. Yeah, underneath resistance getting rejected. I don't have much else to say. Doesn't mean that price is plumb all the way down. No, not necessarily. It is also underneath the conversion line over here, the blue line tanking over here. So, is it time to panic? No, it's just range bound. Like I don't have anything. It's also underneath the support band over here too. Like the way I see it, I see this to be very, very similar spot over here, even though I don't have like the Gann support to show. I see it a very, very similar spot over here as it is over here. It didn't even bother touching it over here. And I talked about this with Charting Guy too. I'm going to release the video later. This whole thing right here just looks like a repeat of this whole thing right here, which means that we're getting close and there's going to be like up whenever it's done, right? If you also look at a higher time frame, I'm going to do like a monthly here, and I posted this chart here on X. But basically, I think that this is what Bitcoin is doing. It's basically just bounce from arc to arc, got rejected, push through to the next arc, got rejected, push through to the next arc, right? Got rejected, push through to the next arc. I don't know where this is going to be. It could end up doing like a like a pretty brutal path. Like it can end up hitting the Gann angle, the Gann horizontal here, and then come back. It could be like doing nothing for like ages, and then it goes up here, right? I don't know. That would be an extended cycle. It would be atypical for the 4-year cycle that people are accustomed to. But I don't really care about the 4-year, 6-year, 5-year. I don't care about any of that. All I really care about is global liquidity, right? I'll talk more about this on the chat here, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But you can see basically just eyeballing and see how there's a long resistance here, global liquidity not breaking out, and it broke out, and now you have a back test, right? Whenever you have something like that happen, where you have global liquidity just having a hard time breaking out and then breaks out and have a back test, that's when things go a lot higher, right? Same thing here. Whenever your global liquidity just underneath resistance here for a while, and it broke out, have a back test, that's when things go up for a while, right? I think we're just having that, but the global liquidity over here has been stuck underneath this horizontal resistance here for almost 3 years. Here is maybe like less than 2 years. Here is maybe less than 2 years. Maybe that's why the cycle is longer. And if that's the case, then depending on whenever you end up having a back test of the global liquidity here, and you end up having money printing again, then you're going to end up hitting the next arc here over time. Right. I'm not going to say it's just going to go up to a straight line. You can have a lot of extreme volatility before you go up there. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I don't have much else to talk about Bitcoin. If you want me to look at like the lower time frame stuff, I can, but it's not going to be that meaningful. I think that it's just hovering around the zone over here. It's stuck between these two arcs here. It's got a lot of demand down here, so I don't think it's necessarily going to come back down and grab liquidity again, although it can, but I don't think it's going to have to plummet all the way down to like 80s anymore. I just think that might be like, probability that's just lower, right? The other thing to look at here, I want to put the Ichimoku here. You can also see how it's just holding the daily Ichimoku cloud. It broke back inside cloud, just holding the daily Ichimoku cloud, right? Initially, there was a katana here. I thought it was just going to end up being bullish here, but it just didn't have enough. It just wasn't ready yet, so bullish katana here didn't really work out, unfortunately. Now you had a bearish cross and prices underneath the Tenkan Kijin, but you're reclaiming the cloud. So that's where we're at. That's kind of where we're at right now. So I do have to say, if you look at like even the lower time frame here, trying to decipher what's happening, you look at the 4-hour chart, you have big giant plummet that happened on February 3rd, last week, right? Last Sunday. And it has a lot of repairing that it needs to do because the 4-hour, the average line over here is still serving as resistance here, right? You really have to have a lot more candles over here going sideways so we can actually turn this thing flat, so you can truly break above and use that from resistance to support before going out higher. That's what I think it's doing, and same thing with the daily here too. It needs a lot more candles here, probably on the sideways over here, or maybe it just end up being a strong impulse here and flip this 20-day moving average from resistance to support, right? Whatever it does, the longer it kind of the longer it kind of stays around where it's at or higher, the the more I like about this chart. I don't really have anything to say just because it's just oscillating sideways here. It's done nothing. So to look at this time frame actually isn't that helpful. Look at a higher time frame is actually going to be a lot more helpful because you really are seeing that you've finally got the bonus support band up here to serve as potential support. And again, this fractal over here looks very similar to this fractal over here. That's what I got to say. All right. Moving on to Ethereum. Again, I have a pretty long talk with charting guy on Ethereum. I still think that Ethereum is going to be fine. I think it's just oscillating between all of these things over here. But if you're looking at the fib levels, and these are log fibs, it's still stuck inside a golden pocket. It still look like it could make all-time highs. How high does it go? Nobody really knows. Again, I made a chart on Ethereum and I talk about how the cycle, the liquidity resistance was longer, right? I just showed you that, right? It's a lot longer than the last one, right? Again, I'm going to pull up the global liquidity, the M2 liquidity index here. You can see how last time you have a resistance zone over here, right? Lasted from 2018 to 2020, back tested it, moved from there, right? Here you have a trend line here lasts from 2022 all the way to 2025. It's like 3 years. You're just now back testing the area over here, right? So I think that's probably why Ethereum is having a hard time to launch, is because we're just now having a back test of the global liquidity. We're just now having a back test of the global liquidity, right? Maybe you're just having a hard time launching. This whole wick down here is very similar to this COVID wick, which is absolutely insane, right? And throughout all this, it's still holding a 0.618 here just perfectly fine. So where is it going to go if it's holding a golden pocket here as the bottom of the range of the golden pocket? Is going to go up? How high is it going to go up? I don't know. I just don't think that this is the end, right? Going back to the monthly here, I'll pull out the 20-month moving average. It's still trying to hold the 20-month moving average. I would like to see the month closing about $2,730. And nevertheless, this all these 1, 2, 3 here, they're all just inside candle of this big giant green candle over here, right? And you already back tested 0.618 up the wazoo. You already back tested the 20-month moving average here up the wazoo. You're still stuck in a golden pocket. Ichimoku cloud, back test Ichimoku cloud like the wazoo, right? So I think that you already find some pretty solid footing over here. I don't think that it has to do anything else. And I think that is at the bottom of range. I think it's just building up a lot of solid grounding here to go up. Can you imagine how bitter people are over here? Can you imagine how bitter people are? They think that it's just going to keep going up, but no, it's consolidating sideways over here. They think it's just going to keep going up, but no, it's consolidating sideways over here. It's taking its time. That's what I think. But if you worry about the cycle being ending soon, then you'd be like, oh, Ethereum's going to underperform everything, right? I don't have that mindset because I'm seeing that it's holding a golden pocket very, very well. I'm seeing global liquidity could potentially break out. So I don't have that mindset, but you can see how a lot of people could be freaking out if you're worried about that, which I can totally see why. But yeah, I'm just not that bearish on Ethereum based on looking at what global liquidity is going to do, and based on it basically did something very similar before. So, all right, looking at all of this low gains, like you think SoFi was waiting till AFRM and others to report before moving on. It's possible. I think that's probably what's happening. Going back to the usual Bitcoin or crypto proxies, where we call them. MicroStrategy, are we still bullish here on MicroStrategy? I still have to remain bullish here on MicroStrategy, even though it has all these wicks here above. It's still holding the Tenkan here, so I still have to be bullish. Not like it is over here, right? Where it lost the Tenkan in the kitchen. It's still holding both, so I have to remain bullish here. And on top of that, if you look at the weekly, it's still stuck in a range, just like what Bitcoin is doing. It's stuck in a range. Got rejected here, 1.618 here in the lock fibs. Come back down, trying to reclaim the 1.414, unable to do so, but it's holding this GAN horizontal line over here. So that's your range over here, right? Arc up above, 1.618 above, 1.414 and the horizontal GAN line over here, which is close to $300. Could it come down here and really close this gap here for real around 280? It still can, but so far it's still stuck in a range, just like what Bitcoin is doing. It does look a little bit more tired. Again, I still think MicroStrategy. If Bitcoin keeps on going up to like 200,000, I think MicroStrategy is going to keep going up to like the two, right? Like it's gonna probably you're probably gonna see 4 digits MicroStrategy here. I'm not being bearish on MicroStrategy, but it does look a little bit more tired here compared to Coinbase, where it's building up a nice base over here at 0.76. It's also holding the bonus support band here, and it's also finding support here at the GAN arc, right? MicroStrategy is not bad. It's also holding the bonus support band. It's finally waiting for bonus support band to kind of catch up here. Again, this fractal over here, very similar to like over here, right? This whole like thing over here, I guess, is more or less similar to like over here, right? Very similar to what Bitcoin is doing. It's finding support where it needs to find support. I think it's probably going to go up higher. Coinbase, same thing. It's finding support where it needs to find support. It depends if you're more bullish on altcoins moving forward, Bitcoin moving forward. I'm more bullish on altcoins moving forward. So I mean Coinbase, I mean CONL. I think some of the higher levels can probably get hit here. 1.272 probably gonna get hit this cycle. If you think things get really bullish, you can hit like the upper levels up here. About like you can potentially have like 4-figure Coinbase here. Possible. We see how it goes. If you're worried that this is like wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the cycle is over, right? But if you're thinking in a little bit of a different way, if this is wave 1 and this is wave 2, then this is wave 1 of a greater wave 3, right? Then it could go up a lot higher from here. So I don't know. I think a lot of altcoins are probably just starting to wave 3. So I think Coinbase is probably just starting to wave 3 as well. So that's as insane as I think. I'm just gonna kind of stick with my conviction here, and that's my thinking, right? I'm gonna go right. Yeah, are miners in third wave? I think so. I think they are starting wave 3 here, because I just think that, and it's kind of crazy to think, like, because a lot of people think that the cycle is going to end in a couple months. And again, I'm going to share with you what Charting Guy and I talked about here. But can this be wave 1 and this is wave 2 and we're starting wave 3? Yeah, it's entirely possible. This is maybe wave 1 of wave 3, wave 2 of wave 3, and wave 3 of wave 3 can be pretty strong, right? Wave 3 of wave 3, wave 3 of 3, I should say, could be what is going to finally break the Super Ichi cloud over here. We got rejected here for the entire year, and it gets to the top of the cloud, right? 50, right? Or breaks the cloud. I don't know. So, like, maybe it's going to do some pretty crazy things. I don't know. But I still think that depends on what global liquidity is, right? Like, you can talk about all these waves. None of this really matters unless the global liquidity supports that. I also think that CleanSpark is underneath resistance here, right? I showed you that it's underneath the 0.618 resistance, is underneath the one support band resistance, right, which is where it got rejected. It's also underneath the GAN angle resistance here, but it's also at support, right? It's holding the arc over here perfectly fine. It's also holding the 100 week moving average here perfectly fine, which is a very, very strong resistance and support level over the years, right? It's holding that perfectly fine. So it's stuck in a range, it's building up a lot of energy. Last week, you had earnings. Earnings just basically push it back up towards the top of the range here. It's still waiting for something macro to happen. It's still waiting for impulse to happen. It's still waiting for the global liquidity to kick in. But it's building a very, very solid base here. It's stuck in a range. If you believe that this is the end of the cycle, you believe that the global liquidity is just going to go down from here, then CleanSpark is going to plummet. If you believe that global liquidity is going to go up from here, then CleanSpark is going to move, right? That's really it. I don't have anything else to say. I don't think that their dilution is really, how do I say that? There's a lot of institutional accumulation. I wish I could show you the Fintel chart, but that's okay. There's a lot of institutional accumulation. The percentage of institutional accumulation has been increasing. The number of shares of institutional accumulation for CleanSpark also been increasing. So this could just be a giant wave 2 over here, building for like potentially a pretty big wave 3. With that said, the miners have burned so many people out. I'm not going to get you into it anymore because it's not going to go up anymore. Because we've just been going down sideways because dilution, because it's private jet. It's just not going to go up anymore. So yeah, don't be in miners, okay? I still have a position in CleanSpark. I don't really feel like adding anymore because I'm just focusing on other things, but I still hold it. I still think it's going to do pretty well. I could be wrong. That's still my thesis. It's only like a small percentage of my portfolio. If it turns out to be really, really great, then it's going to be a lot bigger on my portfolio. If it turns out to be bad, it just disappears and goes to zero. That's fine. It's investment, is trading. You do whatever you got to do. Mara is stuck in a range. I don't know which way it's going to go. I don't know if it's going to go up. I don't know if it's going to go down, right? Again, depending on global liquidity, right? Do you think that global liquidity is going to go to the moon, Mars, Jupiter, and Uranus? Urani? I don't know, right? Do you think global liquidity is going to plummet down because oil is going to 120? Because I mean I don't even know be some macro scare or whatever, COVID 2.0 comes back, right? And you plummet it to down here, it can, but overall, this still looks like a wave 1 here. This still looks like a wave 2. That's what it looks like to me. If you're also looking at the 20-month moving average, it did end up breaking underneath of it a little bit, right? It's just been so exhausting. It's just been so exhausting with a lot of these stocks, but the thesis still hasn't changed, which is the crazy thing. If I'm pulling up, I'm going to do this here. I do wonder about the volume. I may not see anything, but yeah, I'm not really seeing much here on the weekly here. But I do see a little bit of increasing on unbalanced volume over here when price just kind of, yeah, I mean, I'm not really seeing any major divergences over here to really say that there's a lot of secret buying pressure. I guess there is some from, let me see, from here on the spot over here going down here, price just kind of went down from 17 to 16, but on balance volume just kind of shot way up, right? This is also the area where you have a lot of volume coming in, So I think there is some secret buying pressure here over the last few months based on balanced volume. And they like to hide these things very well. Institutional accumulation has been happening on Mara still. So yeah, depends on what global liquidity is going to do. You want to talk about something sad, and I'm talk about this and talk about, and I'm going to jump to BTBT because Anna, you asked about BTBT. You want to talk about something sad? You talk about Bitfarms, right? Do I think that this is a wave 2? Yeah, this looks just like SOFI. It looks just like SOFI. Looks just like SOFI. Oh my god. It looks just like that. And it looks just like what it did before it pumped, right? So I don't know what to make of it. All I can say is that if I pull up my GAN here is at the bottom of the range. Right, top of range is the top arc, bottom of range is the bottom arc. Do I feel strongly about it enough to like want to buy it? No. No. But if you ask me whether or not there is a potential decent risk reward ratio, I'm also looking for like unbalanced volume, like bullish divergence. I'm not really seeing it. So yeah, it's just a dog. I can't really say that Bitfarm is being accumulated here by a lot of folks, but it's certainly being shorted. That's for sure. And certainly, like this whole downtrend here, there's like some capitulation volume that's been happening. It's been happening twice, right? I really think that a lot of people who wanted to sell the stock already have sold. Um, and I'm just gonna keep holding like my small position. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna talk about BTBT here next. It could be a wave one here and a consolidate sideways over here as a wave two. I think it's possible. It's building up a lot of energy the entire time. Now, I'm curious about finding like any secret buying pressure here. Um, Let me see here on the weekly. I guess I do see some like hidden bullish diversions where price went up and the volume went down. I'm not seeing anything obvious here. But on the daily, I bet I do. On the daily, I bet I see bullish divergence, and I do. Price just kind of like channeling down over here, and on balance volume just kind of going up, right? It's been happening for about like a couple of months, or like a month now, I guess, right? Yeah, secret buying pressure. That's what I mean by that. Like, I don't know if they're buying like through dark pool or using some kind of financial instrument to try to buy. I don't know what they're doing. All I can say is that I'm going to keep buying, and I could be wrong, but that's okay. Um, because I at some point you have to believe in something, right? You can see how it's getting closer to low Bollinger Band here too. So I think it's getting closer to the bottom of the range. It broke down underneath the Ichimoku. It had more resistance up above, unfortunately. Um, but that's it is the reality. It's also underneath the support band, right? So that's reality. But if you believe in all of these different types of technicals, you can also see how it tried to break above the arc over here, but it's not able to. So I do think that there's a possibility that it can come down a little bit further, touch the low voltage band, or even touch the bottom of the arc before finding enough energy to push through. I think that's fine. I would keep accumulating here because I really do think that overall, this whole thing right here is more or less just like a back test of this kind of negative trend line, if you will. It broke above like a bearish trend line here. Having a brutal back test, like to me, I still think that it's pretty decent risk reward ratio here too. And it broke above this trend line here on huge volume. Huge volume. So to me, I still think the risk reward ratio is still there, even though it's just been a dog. And it's yeah, yeah, that's all I gotta say. I suffered through something like this through SoFi, and it turned out pretty well for me, so I'm not gonna be that worried about it. But it's just been a dog. A lot of short pressures here. So a couple of other miners I usually go through, and I'll probably end the show here. I don't do those leverage plays. I don't find that, Derek. I don't find that to be like that well charted. I just chart the underlying assets, and I just want to be directionally correct. Like I think the difficult part about MSTU, CONL, and TSLL, because I don't actually do Elliott waves. If you really want to use like Elliott waves to try to find like the exact fit levels to take profits and things like that, like Tracker is really the guy to go to. He does all three. He does very well. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna show you my CONL. And I think my CONL is decent, but like MSTU and TSL is just very tough to like chart and make sense out of it. CIFR monthly is still bullish because it keeps on making higher highs and higher lows. I think that shows, right? This is one of those that's just going to keep moving up forward. I think whether or not it's going to accelerate the bull trend at some point, I don't know. but this is one that I have a position. I'm very, very happy to say that is above the Tenkan Kijun. It's also broke above the immature Ichimoku cloud. So better things are to come if it's able to break above the $7 or $8 range over here, which I think it will. It also broke above the 2E Ichimoku cloud. You see how it got rejected here. 2E Ichimoku cloud came back down, broke underneath the 2E Ichimoku cloud. Eventually was able to break through. Because it got through to the other side of the 2 Ichimoku cloud, I think it's going to end up keep going up a lot higher. It's also riding the weekly Ichimoku cloud, and it's also holding weekly Ichimoku cloud here very, very well. This is one of those stocks that I think has much better technicals. Holding broad support band over here pretty well too. It just needs to break about the zone. I say around like $7 to $8. If it's able to break above that, then it could really accelerate to the upside. IREN reclaiming the broad support band, bullish engulfing candle. And it's just bounced perfectly off my angle here. So I think it's going to gravitate up back to the 0.786 here and to the ARK here. And we'll see how it reacts, right? We challenged both of those a couple times already. So we'll see how it reacts there. But it's bullish. WULF, a little bit lagging, like, but WULF also was able to bounce off the Ichimoku cloud over here on the weekly here perfectly, right? Underneath the Tenkan Kijun, it's probably going to be range bound here a little bit. It's probably going to lag behind CIFR and IREN. But yeah, it's still not a bearish chart. Also underneath the point support band here, but it's not a bearish chart, right? A little bit stuck in a range over here too, just like what I was kind of showing you with CleanSpark and Mara. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to say. I'm going to go quickly through CORZ. CORZ bounce all the 2.618 here. Is range bound, is underneath the ARK down here. It's also underneath the broad support band here, so probably needs some repair. Underneath the Tenkan Kijun here, it's probably stuck in range here for a little bit longer. You might lag behind the other stuff. Riot still looks pretty decent here, although they end up getting rejected here at the ARK here again. But it looks like it's trying. Look at how like close 2 weeks inside the ARK here is trying, right? Boring support band still holding a support, right? Ichimoku cloud is trying to break through, but it got rejected. Now it is underneath the Ichimoku cloud here again. But I just like the fact that it's using so much energy here trying to break through, and also like how it's doing it on some pretty decent volume over here too. It's still digesting this big giant move up here with all this like couple months here. But overall, I actually think that Riot is turning around the corner here, because I think it's really truly reclaiming the 20-month moving average here, is looking more and more decent here. HUD8, bullish, right? But it just needs to simply correct. Basically broke through this horizontal zone here on $20 and just back testing it. That's all it's doing. If you're looking at the weekly here too, it's also trying to really break about the ARK and back test the ARK. It did break underneath the ARK here a little bit. Does that concern me? No, it's probably a deviation like it did over here. It probably needs some additional energy though to push through the 0.618 because it got rejected here. But yeah, I think all it's really doing is just basically book through, couldn't hold the 0.618, come back test the ARK here, back test the horizontal line over here. All of this is happening on slightly declining volume here, so we'll see how it plays out. But I still think this is a higher low here, so don't worry about it. Let's go back to CONL. I have CONL, and CONL is bullish. CONL is a little bit slightly underneath the support band, but that doesn't bother me because it's 2x leverage is going to do like weird things up and down, right? But it's holding the angle here as support very, very well. And it's got a very confluent support zone down here. So I feel pretty good about CONL. If you ask me how high CONL is going to go this cycle, I think it's anybody's guess. It really would be depending on what Coinbase does, right? If it's showing a lot of volatility, then CONL could end up having a lot of decay and not go up as high. But if CONL goes up in a straight line and it just keeps on going every day, like 5, 10, 20% every day, and it just goes up in a straight line, if it ends up hitting like the 1.618 to end the cycle, which again, I'm not sure is going to do that. But if it ends up like, let's see, going from like 6 or 8x from here, then CONL can like 12x from here, or even like 15x from here. I think it's entirely possible. If it goes 12x or 15x, you're talking about like $600. If it's showing, if Coinbase does get up there, but it shows like some really severe volatility, let's say if it goes up to like the 1.272 and it got rejected, and it's just like come all the way back down to like previous all-time high, then I like, even if it eventually makes up to 1.618, then CORNEL might make it like, you know, then Coinbase might make like a crazy 6 to 8x, and CORNEL might just make like maybe like 10 or 12x, right? Directionally matter. I think that COINL is going to do just fine. I hold COINL. I bought COINL down here, so I'm still in profits, and I don't really feel like trying to trade in and out of this because I still feel that the strong impulse is coming. I just don't know when, and I'm okay with it. But yeah, that's kind of what I feel about COINL. I don't chart TSLA or MSTU because I just don't find my charting to be accurate using again here. I tried doing this, right? On my TSLL, I try to do a Gann chart here, but it's just the volatility is just a little bit too much, so it can be up and down to both sides. So could it be, a breakdown here of the Gann art? Doesn't mean this to come all the way back down to $15. I don't think so, right? I don't think so. But yeah, there's reason to be feeling that, hey, maybe it's going to break down a little bit further. Is couldn't hold up on a support band here. Like I'm not really seeing a whole lot of confluence to tell me that where support's going to be down here. I like the Tesla chart at 350 though. So whatever corresponds to 350 to 337 to TSLL, that's probably going to be a pretty decent support zone. I'm just going to leave it as that. So how long do cryptocurrency miners think the third wave will last? A year? It depends. Again, if this is a third wave that's coming, then you're really talking about a much prolonged Bitcoin cycle, right? The last cycle, everything just went in a hurry. Last cycle, everything just went in a hurry because even for Mara, like it made these crazy moves up like that in like a whole year, right? And that really was just kind of following IWM because IWM also just like went all the way up there in like a whole year, right? If you think that it's going to be like IWM, then it can be short, right? But I happen to think that the cycle is not like how it was last cycle. I think this cycle is more like the cycle before that, right? So if that's the case, then it could be longer. I think there's a potential for it to last for another year or so if Mara ends up breaking out. If Mara ends up breaking out, then it can last for like a whole year or so. Possible, right? Just showing you kind of an example in terms of what I'm thinking. Guys, it's getting to the 2-hour mark. I did a 2-hour show for you. Thank you for hanging out here. I'm going to spend some time doing. Oh yeah, thanks, Nicholas. I'm a cat, but thank you. But I am just gonna end here. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you for joining the membership, and I hope you guys get some value out of it. And you guys enjoy the rest of the weekend. Take care now. Bye.